which is important to understand. It's an idea of the balance, especially when we're doing the shiur, to understand what's happening. So steht in Zohar, as Ein Sof is Meir, as Ein Sof is hot in sich, Lamaila adin ketz, or Lamata adin tach. That's what Lashon HaZeh. So in Chassidus Bichlal, überall, in Samachvov, all over. What's Pshat? What's Pshat that Ein Sof has in it, Lamaila adin ketz, or Lamata adin tach? By definition, Ein Sof, in the most posh touch means it's Ein Sof. Ein Sof is bligvul, so hat nicht gehen. It's the opposite of Maila and Mata. It's nicht nur Maila, it's nicht nur Mata. We'll say it in other words, Maila adin ketz is like a cumulative. We're saying, it's nicht nur da, it's eichet dort, it's noch a Sach. It's not something which could be more or less. Ein Sof is Ein Sof. So there is a Havamin in Chassidus to tie choice that the Mailom is not Ein Sof, Ein Sof. We're saying as Ein Sof, which is Taka Pashat, is gefinzig in alle Elim. The Elimus have Mailom Mata. What's the touch? Ein Sof is found everywhere. So the Rebbe Bavarensis and Menachem Yudalit, he says no. Ebazei. So it's not saying that Ein Sof has Mailom Mata. You're saying Sachakil that there's no place which doesn't have it. Izogazei. Say less asar ponim. So obviously, what the Zohar over here is saying is that Ein Sof, that says the Eibishter Alein, before there's a musik of a tzimtzum or any kind of yachas, Farmokt possesses Maila and Mata Mata. Now, there is the regular Mahalach to explain this, and then there is Tafshin. The regular Havana is as Maila adin ketz, and Mata adin tachlis is saying, as the Eibishter, nicht als Beir, als Eibishter, the Hainu, what's called in Chassidus Lifnei Atzimtzum, has in him Saya Inyan that is obviously transcendent over the Bria. He doesn't have a Shaykhis. And Saya that he does have a Shaykhis. But Lashon HaChassidus, Eiram Kei. So usually we would say that's the Ufta of the Tzimtzum. Lifnei Atzimtzum, the Eibsha is nicht kemoker of the Bria, and the Ufta of the Tzimtzum, that's the whole production is to try to say as the Eibsha hat a Shaykhis. It's a mocker from the Nivra. So being Mechadish over here, I don't know. The Eibishter hat bekeichach ha'agadol. The Eibishter has in him as the soul von einem herauskommen in him from Bris. In very breite terms, this is was mir sagt, dass der Eibishter hat in him from Blibur und hat in him from Gvul. In potential, how it's found over there is another discussion, which obviously is not touching you. This is atos, but that's what we want to get to. As tzedor in him from Kayach, the Hainu. Lamata adin tachlis in Lifnei Atzimtzum. And that's what we're saying over here when we say the Eibishter Ein Sof. You think Ein Sof means Eibazei, the Nivra has no Shaykhis to him. Where does Nivra reach? Sachakel in La'achar Atzimtzum as the Spheres or the Akrem is Evel Matzeifer. However you're going to say no. However high you're going to reach in the Eibishter, we're talking Ein Sof. Hota Inyam for Lamata adin tachlis. What's the Taish Lamaila adin ketz? Pashtus, that's the obvious. As is Hecher from Welt. That's the Pashtus of Ein Sof, the Bligvul. In Tofshin Yud, we're saying in ganz eine andere Wort, and it's in a way an opposite word. It's not stira, but it's coming from a totally different direction. We're saying like this. The Eibishter is a mocker for the Bria. What's the mocker for the Bria? The Pashtus, the Gvul. It's a Spheres. You could maybe even find it in Lifnei Atzimtzum, Kanal. Sagt man name. Ein Sof, the Hainu, the Pshitas, the Bligvul of the Eibishter, is found in Lamata adin tachlis. So this We're not talking over here about the Keach of the Eibush. Verkehrt. We're talking about the Eir. We're talking about the Bli Gvul. And that is Nimtza in der Welt. The world is Gvul. Good. That's the idea of Chayis, that you see V'atem Chayis Kulam, that even though he comes into the world, Im Kol Zeh, he's connected, and Einim Mishtane, and he remains Be'etzem Inyan of Bli Gvul. So we're saying as Ein Sof is Nimtza Lamata Adin Tachlis. It does, we're clearly saying a different word. Maybe to summarize, just to clarify. But derech klar was meret is that we're trying to find the nivra in Beire. Und noch hecher, nicht stam in Beire, in hecher von Beire, in der Eibster allein. In Tafshin Yud, we're trying to find Beire in nivra. Und nicht stam Beire, noch hecher, in Sof, wie gefindt sich in der nivra. So the conversation is what the nivra looks like, not what the Beire looks like. Actually, to be manchish this, to haben klar, einmal man lernt, was Chassidus sagt, und danach ist da, was Chassidus will. And sometimes it makes clear and Pashat in Pshat, like, what are we saying? You can have a matzah, a father has a conversation with his son. So, the pastor says that the father has a full life, that I know science man and science interests, which have nothing to do with his son. When he got married at some point, and he has his whole inyonim, his nefesh, his keches, his things he believes in, he wants. Dennoch is not the fact that Bein Ashar, one of the things that he has children. And that's where it begins being a father. So by pastors, the relationship of the father with the child begins from a certain place in his nefesh. But there's a higher, a deeper place where dort bin ich getate, dort bin ich. So over here you have a father telling a child it's not true. There's no part in me where you don't belong. There's no part where I could say, over here, I don't care about you. Over here, bin ich hecher von dir. Ein Yachas von Akin mit der Taten ist, as zu der Erzählung von Taten. I understand you started, it only began from a chitzenistic stage. That's a good question, how and why. Aber es ist nicht doch kein Ort und kein Indien, where I don't care. As man redt in Avede, in was Chassidus will da sagen, was Chassidus will sagen, als sie da in Welt, Entschuldigung, sie da in der Eibischte, ist auch außer Haslamata an den Kachis. So we're saying a very, very strong statement. We're saying that this Nivra, Gvul, unsere Welt, ist Tefus Mokim bei der Eibischte, nicht nur in Atzilus, which is the pastor, the way we usually talk in Chassidus, Psichis and Tapuach, and you find in the Chassid Atzilus, and everything over here has value and weight and importance by the Eibishter. But usually we mean by the Beire, by the Eibishter, the way he's a marker for us. We say no. Ein Sof hat a Inyan from the Mata den Tachlis. There's no part in him where we don't exist. It's an Egeh for mitzvahs, an Egeh for Vedas, an Egeh about the importance of the Brie. Yeah, the Chassidus, right, wegen the Nutzen, Teva. This is all understanding how important we are by the age. Then there's another conversation. Tate sagt zu the Kinder, you have a whole life. Now, there is the pastors, what you learn, things that are important to you. Then there's your shtusim. And then there's even worse than your shtusim. There's your shtifarei, and then there's the when you make yourself stupid, and when there's index. And then there's the things that you do which are beferish, get him nefesh. Where in your life do I exist? So you're going to think that I have a shaykhis mistame care about what the learns, what the tust kfiarat, the nidrikere places, and the shtussim, and the v'cholu. Over there, I'm not with you there. For sure, if you're talking about the very me, or the their eye, which is the exem, I can have a shaykhis with that. So we're saying no, Ein Sof is lemata mata adin tachlis. There's no art in the tachten wo is nicht voran. Und nicht stam allein. In other words, usually we're saying the way the Nivra exists in the Eibishter. Now we're saying the way the Eibishter exists and is found in the Nivra. Found in the Nivra. Und das ist der Wort, the Maskana of the Maimer, that in every place where the Nivra is, Dorten is the Eibishter Farah. So das ist der Teich, as Ein Sof allein is Lamata Adin Tachlis und Dorten eine Mishtani bleibt in Sof. This Nekuda is clear? Yeah. Just if you need the Maramokin for the clarity, making the beautifulness, the contrast between these two biurim in Eretz Sof and Madim Ketz Lamata Adin Tachlis is in Sodom V'Nochi Yudalad and Ha'ara. Over there it's finished. The Rebbe brings over there both the biurim from the Pnim, and then he says, "Oh, but in Hemshech Basi Legani Tovshin Yud is fakir, is a andere word, and this is this." Okay. Before we go weiter, anyone wants to clarify anything? Zugeben, abschlagen. Don't hate Zechon from this point, which is happening in Tovshin Yud, which is really a akdome. We're in the middle of a process to discuss the Pashtus Lamala Din Ketz. But while we're here understanding what's Lamata Din Tachlis. So the Friedrich Rebbe uses the Lashenes as is in a even from Gilui and an even from his Pashtus. And that's how this Ein Sof is nimtza in the Kelayidach Meno Nidach, as Ein Sof is nimtza in the Nivra everywhere, in every place on the Nivra. So the Rebbe over here, and in the Hanocha, it's come upon him as a Dosai Gilui and Sai Pashtus, and if you listen to the recording, it's even more. And Hanocha didn't put it in so many times, but it's very clear that this is over here what the Rebbe built up. Mechalik Zayin or Mechadish Zayin, when we're talking Sayin in Finis Pashtus and Sayin in Finis. So, in order to clarify and to get to the Nukuda, what's the other Ufti? Maybe it's good just to see inside the Mahodo da Anoche, the Anoche Lak. Just to point out maybe 2 or 3 Nukudas over here in the mind which will clarify the difference in Gila and his Pashtus. Oh, yeah, one of them. Trying to get Kudus. On the wrong side. Okay. So, the way the Maimon works in Tafshin Yud is that we go in stages. First, we say that in Atzilus is nicht kein Chiddush that Ein Sof is nimtza. That's bechal not considered matter. And then we say, what's the time? Ein Sof is mer lamato, is in Biyah. That's a Chiddush, that's a Pella. And then it's even more of a Pella. That is nimtza in Elam Hazeh and Biz, that we say, Taka, what's that? Ein Tachlis, you split up. There's the lamato, then there's Ein Tachlis, and then as he adds, Madrevis HaYesis Tachtenis, HaYesis Achrenis, that still he comes as Ein Sof is found even in Klal. But in Sif Beis we're discussing the Einay Pella. As in Atzilus Nishkin Pella that Ein Sof is over there. Just Lahoyer, Maimer HaMuzger. The Pashtus, Sifat Neshois, it's unnecessary like to talk about the Eine Pella, and the whole Arich is the Eine Pella. We want to talk about what is a Pella. But hopefully we'll get to it. The way the Rebbe learns the Maimer, the way it works out from Siv Dalet in Tavshikov Gimel, it's Negea for the word that Atzilus is Eine Pella. We'll get that. But in the process of understanding why Eine Pella, so he says, why? Because Kelim da Atzilus Harei Malakus Mash. So let's see the Lashon of the Frierdiker Rebbe as it's quoted over here. It's in page place in the Maimer Basi Legani of Gimel. Shura Maschalas begin. So sagt the Frierdiker Rebbe, the Yeste Gamma Kelim da Atzilus Harei Malakus Mamish. Vim Kein, number one, Ein Pella Klal da Ein Sof Meir Shom begin. Two, V'chein Ein Pella Mashem Michelim Lekabel Ein Sof Agam. So it's a Bavaranish that Nish Stam, it's Ein Sof is Meir over there, Begilui, it's also that the Kelim could be Mekabel. V'hainu. Now the Rebbe's teaching goes to what the Frierdiker Rebbe said. And the Rebbe teaches these two stages in an interesting way. Number one, what the Frierdiker Rebbe said, Ein Sof Meir Shom Begilui, he says, She'ein ze pella she'ein sof yochel le'ispashit shom, ispashtus. And the second word, Vafil ein ze pella she'ein sof yochel shom begilui, gilui. So the Rebbe is taking these two Lashonos of the Frierdiker Rebbe and saying it's ispashtus and gilui. So, obviously, what we have to understand is, first of all, why are these two things? I mean, what's the shaykhis between saying that Ein Sof Yochel Liyashon Begilui and Shakenim Yichelim Lekabel is the idea of Espashtus and Gilui. And Baker, what's the difference between Espashtus and Gilui? That's Pashut. So, let's just Pashut Bavorin in Pshat. This is important to understand what the Rebbe did over. If you read the Frierdiker Rebbe, the Pashtus, it sounds like he's saying, Asedom mitzad ha'erim mitzad ha'kelim. Mitzad ha'erim, Ein Sof Yochel Shom Begilui. And then there's the Kelim Yichelim Lekabel, which would obviously be wrong Pshat. The discussion over here is not about Kelim. We're trying to explain how Ein Sof is Meir Lamata Mata Adin Tachlis. If the Kelim could be Mekabel or not, this has nothing to do with our conversation. So obviously these are two stages in the word of his pashtus of Ein Sof. So this is what the Rebbe is bavarening. Pasha, you shouldn't have a misunderstanding of what the Frierdiker Rebbe is saying. We're not saying the Eir could be Meir and the Kelim could be Mekabel. We're saying is, as it's Tzvein Yonim in Eir. Eir could be Meir Begilui in the Eifon of his pashtus. And what's the type of the Kelim Yichelim Mekabel? That's an union of Gilui HaEir. It's another idea in Eir. So we're helping Pasha in Pshat in the Maimer as it's Tzvein Yonim in Eir. His pashtus and Gilui. So we understand why it's necessary for the Rebbe to say this, because this is what we're saying in shiur. But Hagufa, what's the difference between his pashtus and Gilui? We still need to clarify. Another nekuda, which it's kedai to shtel zich on. Back over here, this lashon, in Shura Maschalas Begilui, the Frierdiker Rebbe says that why is in Kelim da Atzilus is not Meir Ein Sof, and it's not a Pella, because the Kelim da Atzilus Harei Malakus Mash. So since it's a Lakus, it's not a Pella that should carry Ein Sof. What's that supposed to mean? Why not? Kelim is Gvul of a Lakus. So Gvul should carry Bli Gvul? Ich verstehe es a Lakus. So what? How's that helping him Pshat? And therefore, any Pella. Only a Pella in Bia. I mean, an Aver is Mugbul. Therefore, he could take a certain Keach. So what's the difference between a Lakus or not? Now, it's interesting, when the Rebbe touched us, this word, the Rebbe added a few words. And it looks like the Rebbe is saying a tifra havana in what's the pshat that Kelim that is going to be makabel lukus. Believe me. We go on page Yud Gimel. The Rebbe says, quote, Shura Mescheles Bahamayim, she'ein pele klal the Ein Sof Meir Shom Megillah, she'arein Kelim Le'ein Sof. V'hainu legt der Rebbe zu mitzad inyan ha'achtus. Kiven she'achtus היא כלי לקבל Ein Sof. עכשיו, לכן גם הכלם דאציל זה ראים בלכוס ממש, שהרי מבגר מייכה. So, we're saying a totally new word. Nicht as because it's a lakus it could be mekabel, because it's achtus it could be mekabel, and therefore he's a lakus, and therefore it's dort meir himself. So, what we need to clarify is the difference between Ispashtus and Gilui, and the difference between saying that is a reim alakus mamish and saying this new word as mitzad achtus is achtus a kli lekabel insof. And the stamme would make sense to say that these two inyanim, the two shinuim that the Rebbe made in the Frierdiker Rebbe, l'chora have to do with each other. One last word, Zeit läuft ein bisschen, but just one last nekuda, the nekuda of Siv Gimel. Siv Gimel, the Rebbe learns an interesting pshat. I'm not going to go through the whole cheshbon now, but the punchline is that the levushim, the hainu, usually machshava dibur ma'aser, and the mailot, bri yitzira asiyah, are not mekabel from each other, and the relationship to Atzilus is not one further than another, but they're all b'shav. And that's the reason why the Frierdiker Rebbe brings Eimei Eloah Mekanon and B'Kurtzayeh and the Hemshech of the Lashon, because he wants to say that Tzinish Yitzir is Mekabel from Bria, no Yitzir is Mekabel from Atzilus equally to the way Bria is Mekabel from Atzilus. So, first of all, this is very interesting. In Chassidus, b'derech klal, what's the point of saying the Rishalshus? If Yitzira is not lower, he's not being mekabel from Bria, in what way is he Yitzira and not Bria? What sagst du? V'ha'ikir, why is it negate our mind? What do we want to bring out from this point? What's the Rebbe's point? Okay. So, Akoponim in a few words, let's get to the difference between Hispashtus and Gid. First of all, let's start with translation. What's the Lashon Hispashtus mean? Hispashtus means as you have someone or something which is spread. Hispashtus, by definition, means whether you want or not, here I am. Hispashtus could be in an even that's overwhelming the Makam. As we know, the Lashon, the Mashal from the Meiser from the Tzemach Tzedek, the Rebbe brings in Basi Legani in Pada B'Sholem Toshachov Place. Yeah? That he complained that people are stepping on him, so he said, then nobody would step on him. So what's this pashtus mean over there? He didn't ask anybody. It's not like anybody wanted him to be mispashtus. That's attached to his pashtus. A person walks into the room, he's being mispashtus by force. Gilui, by definition, means I'm coming within the terms of the Makam. Usually, Gili means the mashal in Ches and Tanya. The Hagdaras Achilot between Seviv and Mamala is Helam and Gili. So Seviv is not found in the Nivra less, but he's not Begoli. The Hainu, he's not speaking the language of the Makam. So Gili means I'm here with you, as you understand it. So usually, I would say like this: Seviv, Bligvul would come an even of Hispashtus. Memale is an even of Gili. Da sagt man eine interessante Sache. The Uftu, the Rebbe wants to stress in what Ein Sof is Meir Lamata Adin Tachlis is that Ein Sof, Bligvul, will come in the Eifon of Gil. Which is interesting. How does that work? So the emesis, also his pashtus needs more hasbah. What do you mean that you're coming not on my terms, so you're not here? Yeah, in Gashmirs, there could be a musik of something out of place. As Adochak Venichnis. He's here even though he's not wanted. In Ruchni, what do you mean? You can't like force his nemana ateretz and force it onto the kasher, even though it doesn't answer the kasher. So it's nicht da. It's nicht geteretz. It doesn't belong in the sugi. In Teichen, it's nicht as a something shaloi b'mkein. So erstens darf man verstehen, I feel was is pastors. You mean to be here in a way of overpower. And then we would need more work to understand what's the taich as a continuation of Gil, as this Ein Sof is coming in Gil. So the taich, the pastors, of what it means as pastors, is these words, because the Kelem Harem Alakus Mash. Now this Loshen exists. It's in Chassidus, you have in Mavuskas Samachalef, you have Umeret Werden. Be'emes, it's a much broader question. Sagt, yeah, the Yontiv, every time you tell a mitzvah, you mamsher a taste with Eres and Atzilus. You're bringing union of Blig Vul into Atzilus. Doesn't make sense. Atzilus is Gvul. And the Eir was in Atzilus is in the Eifon of Gvul. That's the touch Eres Mulbashim Bakel. So we say, no, somehow we change. I mean, half of Chassidus is saying that. Usually the maskana of every Maimer is to explain what would be Lulei, Asedah, Shabbos, or the Asedah, the Mitzvah, or the when at Mesiras Nefesh, whatever you're doing. The Uftu is, we can bring an insult. What you say. That's the Kasha of a Smiflek. And the Teretz is, it works. Because Kelem that Tzilis Harei Melakus Mash. Okay? It's Alakus, we know it's Alakus, it's Gvul, it's not Bligvul. So, let's first start with the dogma, and then we'll come to Hasbar. The dogma for them is was mezet in nefesh adam, that you see the moshel bezman simcha or the bezman sakana. You see an inyan of blig vul being izgal in the nefesh. Das heißt das. Normally I have a varim and I have keches, and the keches are mislabish lefi erech devarim. So if I have a developed brain, so I have so much of my mind is based in the brain, so much of my seichel is in the meich. If I have, let's speak even more simple, the muscles, how much keich hatnua is begun in my muscles, as strong as I am. Now if you want to become stronger, you can do that. But you have to do exercise. And exercise is mat, somehow you work your way up till a month later, you could carry what you couldn't carry a month ago. Or if your brain exercises, you could learn more because there's more Gili HaSeichel. That's that you grew. That is a totally different scene. A person is Bizman HaSimcha. He could dance a whole night. He's not so strong. If somebody would come to him and pay him to dance on a ganze Nacht, he would not be Matzliach. He is not that strong. Or if somebody tell you, go run for 2 days straight, I can't. I'd love to. You offer me a lot of money. I can't. The fact is, with Zman HaSakana, it happens. So we see it's happening. Now, obviously, it's not pshat, let's just clarify, that the person became stronger. I mean, the next day, he's as weak as he was before. He's probably actually weaker. He's hurting. He did something shalei lefi yarech ha'evarim. Not in tanzen a ganze Nacht. I verstehe you, but you can't really do this. And in the end, what's going to have to happen is that he's going to have to recuperate and come back to his natural matzah. He didn't grow. What happened is that the nefesh, there was Gili HaNefesh, the nefesh was beis pashtus, And therefore, somehow, the Ivorim rode with. They're mitgefahren. So haben das gekannt vertraut. Das ist der Metzies. So how good attack was child? How does that work? So we obviously have to say like this, that the Kelim, Hareim Elikus Mamish, the Evarim, in Yonam is Inyan HaNefesh. And therefore, they are masking to be Mekabel Nefesh. As we know, the Chiluk Bechlal between Levushim and Keiches, or between Levushim and Guf, is that the Guf doesn't exist without the Nefesh. Because he doesn't have any other Inyan. So because he doesn't have it, who am I in Yoni is to carry Nefesh. You can't have a Guf without Nefesh. It disintegrates. So because this is my whole Inyan, therefore I'm ready to take any Inyan of Nefesh. Or we'll say it a little bit different. The Keiches by definition, obviously the Keiches in Yonam is Seichel and the way my Seichel works. But there is Kilo Nema, the identity of the Keiches. What are the Keiches coming to do? The Keiches, with the Lashon is, they're Nafshi. Ha-Keiches him Nafshi. I understand. But understanding is not just cognitive activity. It's not just processing information. Understanding means like this. I get it. There's a light bulb that goes on, and that's an experience of nefesh. And I identify with this one. Al derech zeh, in Herish. There's obviously there's the mechanics of Herish. How there's the chamimus in Ave, and there's the kibbutz in Yidden. That's not what Herish is. Herish is as ichobli. There's an eye. And the eye of ichobli, and ichob meile, and ich verstehe, are not different eyes. It's the same eye. In other words, if we'll start fakert, why does the nefesh have keiches? Because the nefesh wanted to express itself. Because so what are the keiches in essence? Who are they? Not what are they. Who are they? What they are, he's chesed, he's gevura. Who are you? Why do you exist? Because the nefesh wanted expression. Since your whole inyan is nefesh, whenever nefesh will express itself, you identify it. Because that's where you come from. You come from nefesh. Kilo Neymar says murgish in the gvul that he's really originally was a prat in the bligvul. So I understand today he's gvul. But don't tell me that you look at Inyan of bligvul as totally fremde zach. You know me. This is where you come from. And in some place or another, deep in the nefesh, we are one. So now that you are a separate thing, versteh, but you're ready to host me. And that's why if we're going to say, let's speak mamish simple in the Evarim, yeah? When I could dance a whole night, because the guf, calling Yone is to carry the nefesh. Originally, so even though he has his keiches, he has his specific tziyur, but he's ready to take a union of bligvul to carry it. Shalei v'tevos. Not beifim pnim. But you could be mispashet on me because I identify with you. Because this is really where I come from. This was called in Yoni Melech. Das ist der Teich, der Wort von Hispashtus. So, Kilo Neymar, there's a back door in the Keiches, in the Spheres, in the Kelim Da'atzilis, which really connects me and allows for Bligvul to come. Obviously, it's still a name from Hispashtus. But it's working. Ad Kidei Kach in the Mamorim Retzach, not just saying simple is in Keich HaTnur, but There could be gilui of bli gvul in seichel. A pashta person could speak tzcholim nifloim b'zman hasimcha. Or his ish a kanzen could suddenly become a breita heart. In other words, the cake is taka change. Even though tomorrow this person is making the chassan, your fundraise, the best time is by a chassan. Because it's a state that there's a srachvus in nefesh. Simcha, that's tash simcha peirit together. So what's a simcha peirit together? That my own nefesh, the pshittus of the nefesh, is bursting through the gdarim of my nefesh. How does that happen? Because the nefesh melachat chila doesn't look at the bligvul, which is expressed in simcha, as a fremde zach. It's not a foreign virus. I know you. Therefore, meretzach tzanayf, he could carry me. This is the regular pshat, as meret, samachalef, kelen datzilas hareim alakus mamish. This is the lashon of the Frierdiker Rebbe to explain his pashtus of Ein Sof lamata mata adinta. So I chose nicht lamata. The way is not tzilus. Why not tzilus? Is it not modna to see Ein Sof? Because kelen datzilas relate. They're ready to carry it. Some a geschmack word. Just it's always geschmack to see the way this Indian is gefindt sich in der Rebbe's Teire. So you have, there's a famous sikha, mishpat im chelek tezayin. Tachtenim yalo l'alyenim, alyenim yesh do l'tachtenim. So towards the end of the sikha, basically the maskana is that tachtenim is seichel and alyenim is amun. So the shaila is, could seichel carry amun? So seichel could be maskim, as is done. The shaila is, could seichel be permeated with amun? The pashtus says no. I mean, seichel has his rules. So the Rebbe brings over there, as a state in Samachal, as kelem dat tzilas harei malakus mamish, this is mamish this thing. Therefore, an Indian of gvul could also carry bli gvul, because melchatchila it's one thing. In other words, if you learn seichel, if you learn Torah out pure logic, you're right, it's a fremde zach. There's no reason how you're going to bring an Indian of amun. Oh, but if it's melachatchila expression, it's in another key. So it's not only not going to be a stira, it's going to be felt in the higoyim as a dodam. It brings over that the Rebbe Rashab said as a zitz by sich in Zimmer and the Effen Balakutei Teire filter in sof. Filter in sof. Remember I think in sof. Der hält in sof. So it's only look the Teire, sitting down to learn. Aber wenn lernt, because by the Rebbe Nishmasei, when lernt is the Chassidus not a svar, no Chassidus is a lakuz. So even though it's Seichel Aliki, Baltas is Seichel Aliki, can sich anhören dort und also in sof. This is the Pashta Pshat. This is the regular Hava. This is obviously all his Pashtas. Sachakel, what we did is, we rationalized how his Pashtas could work. Hayitochen as Bligvul, hat man reingeschmuggelt, we smuggled in, and you know, Bligvul in Gvul, and he's ready to carry it. It's not Gilu. Gilu would mean a Pashtas, like Mamalu. That's where the real Lashon Gilu is. As the Chayis is the Zach. He is him. He's talking his language. Fakir, you're telling me that I'm ready to take something which is not my language. But Haraya, the neg is there, he doesn't have it. So it's just pshat that it's really there. The Rebbe over here wants to say, as the Be'enarech von dem, it's nicht, his pashtus is Gilu. As in Sof is Nimtza, not Tzilis in the Eifen of Gilu. So the Shai is, how do we get to that? It's Pashtus, right. So it's Pashtus, fine. It's Pashtus we've made peace with. The question is, how's the Gilli going to work? So the Taj Gilu is going to have to mean, to first talk in the Hafshata of the Indian. It's going to have to mean that somehow or another, he is so bligvul that there's no hagbala or tziyur on his expression. And he could express itself in every way. So usually we say, if Bli Gvul expresses itself, Bli Gvul could come into a place of Gvul. Rotzen can reinkommen in Keches. But he talks like Rotzen talks. In Eifen of Shlitta Memshala, he's coming in Eifen of Bli Gvul. This Bli Gvul is an Azasar, he's so Bli Gvul, or I don't know if over here would work the word, he's not Mugdir in Bli Gvul. He could talk any language. That's how Bli Gvul is. And that's why he could be begin. So let's first, maybe we'll work backwards. Lama then, the chiluch that the Rebbe made between the kelim d'atzilis, or kelim for itself, because the Reim Elikus Mamish, and then we said another word, because Achtus is a kli le'insof. Which is also a lashon was mekanim from Chassidus. Well, every union of Achtus, yeah, V'archeinu Avinu Kulanu Ka'echad, as a Zechibur Havchim, that's a kli le'insof. Now, this Inyan is coming by himself to the Iva Garmeicha, Iva Chayecha, Iva Garmeicha. Just, if anyone remembers, last year, and I think also before, we brought the Mittler Rebbe, B'negei Iva Chayecha, Iva Garmeicha. The Mittler Rebbe discusses over there the Inyan of Achtus, in a very specific way. Is Bekitzer. There's two funny in how to understand the scholars. One even of the scholars is Mevest, Eshumayim, or Shnei Sarim, and in the Fnei HaMelech, they become bottom. Why did they become bottom? In Yoni is Chesed and in Yoni is Gvura. Malach Michal, Malach Lavin. Because when you come in front of the Melech, you are overwhelmed by the Melech. Good, overwhelmed by the Melech shouldn't make us Ba'achtus. Overwhelmed by the Melech should make us Shrein. Why are we Ba'achtus? So the answer is because really, Aliba Dam is, what is Chesed if not Nefesh? And what is Gvura if not Nefesh? So when Chesed and Gvura are Behiskalos in the Nefesh, because the Nefesh is made Begolui, what is happening is he's reminding them about their real identity. Kol Inyan HaChesed is a sug expression of Nefesh. Kol Inyan HaGvura is a sug expression of Nefesh. Memela, you're going to cooperate. It's not even a vittur. You're being mevater. Dein Inyan is Nefesh, dein Inyan is Nefesh. You want each other's Atzlachim. It's nicht a besondere Sache. So that's the Taich as Chesed or Gvura could be Behiskalus because they're Margish Nefesh. So again, not just because over Nefesh is overpowering, but over Nefesh is somehow Behispashtus in them. Memele, they're masking each other. Aber sof. Obviously, Chesed as Chesed. I mean, when he walked out of the Melech, is the nicht masking to Gvura. Tchunas HaChesed and Tchunas HaGvura are still. When they remember their Mokker, when the Shliach comes back to the Mishalech, they can work together. What about a different kind of scholars? Chesed, when we have a conversation with him, as he is Chesed. Does Chesed want to have anything to do with Gvura? So we see a very interesting phenomenon. That in order to be a successful Chesed, you have to be Gvuras. This has nothing to do with the Mokker. This is to do with who you are. Nishta. If you're not going to be a big Gvuradi, you're going to be a failed Chesed, and you're going to end up being the opposite of what you want to be. Yeah? So, du willst eine gute Tate, you have to take away the knife from the child. You want to be a good teacher, you want to give, you have to not be mitzamtzah. Which is it's a very surprising thing. It says, if you want to be one thing, you have to be at least a little bit in the table. You want to be a proper chair, you have to be a bit of a table. Listen, if I want to be I should be this business off. It's an element. Mizet, as it's baked into the mitzias of every kaya. And every Indian to be Beis Chalus. Nothing to do with Bittul HaMakah. Why is that? So, them Muslims sagen, where it says, Be'etzem HaNefesh, everything is one. Since every Kayach, Be'etzem comes from there, therefore the Tchunas of Chesed and Gvura are so that they mourn in Iskalus. When you have Iskalus, it's coming obviously from a place which is Mitzad HaEtzem, the five Montes der Iskalus. This is in the Nosich and Gimel. The Achdus, which is happening in the Keli, not Mitzad when the Eir is Ma'achatem, Mitzad the Keli. Was is dort der Chibur Hafchim? Because of Ein Sof. That's the type of Horchenu Avinu Klonet Echot. This is, in other words, not Ein Sof the way he's coming in a Eifen of his Pashtus, the way Ein Sof is coming in my language. Is the Sikkum. Says, no, the way I talk to the Evarim, the way you're forced to host me because Tainidim is doch Echet Nefesh. That is Pashtus. But it's despite you. Then there is, it's Bligvul in your language. So maybe, I don't know, it just sounds like that the Rebbe is saying over here, this word, as Kelim da Tzilis Harei Malakus Mamish is why, is because Kibbutz Ha'achtus Ikli Lekabel Ein Sof has to do with this word that what we mean to say over here is that Ein Sof is going to come in Eifen of Gil, nicht in Eifen from his Pashtus. Now, problem is, all we did is we kicked the can down the road. What's it mean? Who's that man? Such a musik that you have Bligvul. If we brought Dugman Nefesh Adam, what man gebracht as Bligvul comes in a Eifen of in a Sprach of Gvul, like was man Simcha. For Pashtus haben wir as eigen. Where do we see Bligvul coming in Gvul? Mitzad Echad being Gvul or Leidach being Bligvul? So, in the Hemshech Tavshin Yud, the maskone, where the punchline is Vatem Chayes Kul, the name from Chayes. The Rebbe already starts it over here in the mind. Where do we see Ein Sof Lamata Adin Tachlis is in Chayes. Now, let's just take 2 minutes to be magdir what is Chayes, and maybe that will help us understand where we see Bli Gvul Ein Sof in a Eifen von Gil. Chayes is a very interesting thing. Yeah? We talk about Chayes, first we see it, and we talk about it in a very chitzonistic terms. We know that Chayes comes in Eifen of Nekude, Chayes brings Tzmicha, Kol Chaim is Nanea. There's a lot of tchunas of Chayes. What is Chayes? What is it? It's Mavur in Chassidus, and we always know that the Emes Chai is the Eibishter. Ad gedei kach, that Dveikus in the Eibishter, Atem ad-Dveikim avay lekechem, is Chai. He is Chayes. Avay lekim Emes, hu lekim Chai. No, he gives Chayes, he is Chai. The Eibishter is Vatu Melech Kil Chai V'Kai. What's the touch Chai? So, in ein word is Chai Azeh. The difference between a child, Uber B'Meimeh, and a child, a born child, is one thing: independent. In other words, Chai is this hargosha, this experience that I am supposed to be. In andere Wörter, if we'll speak like more Chayil Sprach, is nicht kein Metzies Nimtzo, he's a Atzmi. or what we call, he's a mechuyev liyis, mechuyev hametzius. I have to be. I'm supposed to be. That's just a pashto expression. Growth. Why should something grow? Something has, I am this size. If the table could talk, in Yoni, you would say, I want to continue being. What? I want to be more. I want to be another one. Why should I want to be more than what I am? I don't want to be less. I want to be more. I am what I am. Look, mein Metzies ist gerade getroffen, als ich bin voran. Ich bin das. What I am, I am. I'm atzmi muza. I have to be. It's impossible for me not to be. Therefore, there can't be any place or any inyan where I'm not. That's without getting into why Mechuyev Metzius is that way. But that's the tchuna of Mechuyev Metzius. When a Metzius Nimtza experiences atzmi, so he touches it up in this language. Metzius Nimtza by itself passes the Musik Tzmicha, and atzmi itself also obviously doesn't pass the Musik Tzmicha. There's no such thing as the atzmi growing. But it's the way the Metzius Nimtza has found an expression in himself of being, I'm supposed to be. I'm pushing to be. Therefore, I'm going to have more expression. I only speak the language of expression. So to me, being means another inch. So that's the type the tree is saying I have to be, so it grows more. Oh, but what's happening over here, it can't come mitzad in being a nimtza, it has to be mitzad in being a mechuyev mitzvah. And muza. Even, let's say, the more clearer expression of it, what's the first thing you see about something that's alive that he fights to exist? You threaten his life, you block the tree, he'll try to continue growing from a different direction. You block the fly, doesn't want to drown in water, will fight to somehow survive. What's he fighting to survive? That's actually their life. Life is as chumuz. It's the Metzius Nimtza, the version of Atzmi. In other words, to be alive is a touch you connected to Etzem. It's nicht the touch. As Etzem HaNefesh provides a package called Chayis and delivers it to the Aver, because then the Aver wouldn't be Atzmi, wouldn't be alive. The touch is that the Aver is being margish as Etzem. In the language of Chassidus, it's called Rotze V'Shuv. There has to be a constant chibur with the Etzem. It can't separate. Because that Chayis means Etzem. There's no other way of talking about it. And that's why it comes in, if you know in a Kudah, you can't be half alive. The Chulu, in the Allah in Yonim, that's it's Mugdir, as opposed to Eir, the Allah in Yonim, this is the Vort of Chayis. Come back to our conversation. So when I see something alive, is that gvul or bli gvul? Hab ich dor mitzad echad ha'inyan as Ein Sof? That's a type of life. But is he being shown on the Metzius or fakert? The thing that's alive is thriving, is growing. He's becoming more him. When Chayis, let's speak in the Aver. When Chayis HaNefesh comes in the Aver, is Chayis HaNefesh telling to the Aver, Al derech b'zman ha'simcha, you better ride with me and allow me to run over you and work through you? No. Chayis HaNefesh comes into the Aver and he enhances the Aver. And the Aver becomes more Aver. Becomes a healthy Aver, a frischer Aver, a aggressor Aver. So, mitzad echad se'atzmi, Ein Sof. Ule'idoch de zach alein werk levig. It's begun. Da habe ich a dogma for this Indian as Ein Sof. And this is the truth. Pashat even, the Hemshach of the Maimon, we're talking about Natzilus. We get reden wegen the Chayis from the Rebbe brings in Sifhei, how you see everything grows. Yeah, Mazla Makeh Bevei Gadel. And then we're going to see that the Eibush gives Chayis even to Klippe. And on every level, what's happening is if he's alive, it's not the tight is that if he's alive, it's only coming from the gvul of the Eibush. A life has to be a Ein Sof. That's a type of life. Zet treffen mir de Ein Sof lamata mata den Tachlis. And in the Eifen of Gilui. Stop over here. We didn't get to the Vart, to the Vart of the Vart. Huh? It's optional, whoever wants to leave. No, who knows? It shouldn't be like it's. Huh? Okay, Akapanim Bekitzer. Let's get to the. Okay, we'll skip. There's also you put in Sif Gimel. I mean, Mamish said it in one word. Sif Gimel. Once I understand the idea of Gilui over his pastors, so I understand why we want that Biyah should be one word. If we're talking about his pastors, in his pastors there's stages. It's cumulative. I could have more or less. Al derech v'lei mamish. It's a dugma recheka. Al derech, the famous sikh in Shmeis Chelik Vav. Yeah, the Mishkan worked in the Eifen of that there's more Gilui. So it's bligvul. So like Shlomo HaMelech's Chachma bligvul is in his galley, with another mashal and another mashal and still shleish of mashal. Every stage is more expression. The word that we want to say over here is it's fakert. As an ishdokin art where I can't be. And then it's going to be mitzad hakelim. In the language of the Sikh over there, it's one nakud. So it doesn't work in the Eifen as a kumt on in Biyah. He is Biyah. He is, and in that way, there's no difference between Bria and Asiyah. So, we'll say a little bit different. If the Chayes Aleki needs Dveikus, so they all have to be connected to Atzilus in the same way. The Yachas to Atzilus, which is Alakus, is the same. I understand that if we're talking in Giluyin, in Bittul, that's a different conversation. So in Levushim, you have such a thing. But if we're talking over here about the Nekudas HaChayis, same word. Technically, in Levushim, you also have this chiluk. Yeah? The all Levushim, the Pegashmis, you wear a shirt and a jacket, and on that a coat. And then there's Levushim that you wear a hat and a jacket and shoes. So, sometimes we talk about Biyah and Eifen, that each one is further from the Guf. Or we say that each one is carrying a different part of the Guf. But in the relation to Guf, they're identical. Understand, Asiyah is Gra. The shoes are greater than the jacket. True. But I can't say he's further from the Guf. So likewise, over here, we say, in Biyah, the Nekuda of Chayis, it's the same. This is Zabazach. Okay. Well, the Ikra wanted to get to is the word of Siddalt. The Nekuda of Neshamas. So let's just start on a few Nekudas, maybe Mamish etliche Nekudas, and then was tut man darauf? In the Maimer in Tafshin Yud, the Rebbe brings, the Frierdiker Rebbe brings, as Levushim Biyah is a Pella that Ein Sof kommt up. How's that a Pella? There's Levushim. And Levushim is doch Nifrit. It's not like Guf. How do we explain how Levushim is Nifrit? So mit amol rupt rein, und Levushim minai parchen Neshmas lebnei that from the Levushim come Neshamas. Elamai, the Neshamas are the Pnimis, the Malachim Chitzenius, and the Elims Chitzenius the Chitzenius. What are we doing over here? The pastors in the Lashon of the Frierdiker Rebbe is Shmeh. When we're used to this, especially in the Frierdiker Rebbe, suddenly there's like, it just, as Achtnach Avot. So, the pastors before the Rebbe, yeah, so if we would learn Tafshin Yud Vidas is, so l'chayre, the way we would have to touch it, it's not so geschmack in the Lashon, but there would be no choice. We would say like this: the Frierdiker Rebbe is coming to Bavarin that Biyah is low. You're going to ask a kasha, levushim, parchin, ushmasin, v'nayim, lenosha. So l'chura biyaz neshamis. Neshamis is doch mamish, alakos. Everyone knows that neshamis is heilig, is gavuk. So how could you say that levushim out nifrit? So the answer is no, that's fort levushim. Elamai, it's the plinius, right? It's the plinius. Amalachim, it's chitzenius. But when the Friedrich Rebbe is saying that neshamas are plinius, he's just trying to put a cap, a lid on how high levushim go. He's saying it's still part of levushim. So umemela it's still biyah. Umemela it's still correct. It's accurate to say that in levushim in biyah it's a pella as a lekus as it itself come dort now. So it's a bavaronish. Then there's another line, which is like a bavaronish for the bavaronish. We know the musagim. There is a musag of neshamas libnei nosh, of neshamas datzilis. Neshamas datzilis is l'chura not biyah. So the answer for that is beseder. That's chad bedara. Those are unique people. That's not part of the conversation. So the Friedrich Rebbe is Pasha is just trying to bavar in these kashas. Now, why would we have these kashas? I don't know. The Pasha felt nicht ois to bavar in these kashas. Aber lass mal sagen that we're dealing with somebody who's going to ask these kashas. So the answer is that neshamas the biyah are fort biyah, and neshamas the atzilas is bichlal not part of this conversation. You know something again? The Rebbe is mechadesh in our maimer as nishtazeh. The reason we bring in the word of neshamas is not a bavaranish, it's because this is the nekuda of the maimer. The nekuda of the whole hemshech Basi Legani is to reden wegen a yid macht a dirib tachtenim. And how do we do this as Aved Neshamas? So here is where Sif Yud Gimel starts coming back to the Nukuda of the Hemshech Basi Legani to the Aved of Dirib Tachtem. Which is Nish Stam Not Pshat, it's nothing to do. If you know the Hemshech Basi Legani, we're in the middle of a story. Bichlal Lamata and Tach has nothing to do yet with Dirib Tachtem. The Eitzer Elim is Lamala Din Ketz. That's going to erst happen from Siftas Vav. And the Aved of Neshamas Yisrael happens later. Yud Zayin, Yud Ches, the Nitzochen, HaMelchama, the Netzach V'Heid, Melech Zmashel Chayiv Mineged. So go to That's, we're in the middle of a story. So clearly what the Rebbe is doing over here is we're taking Sif Yud Gimel and making it into a limud b'fnei atzmei. And this is, the Rebbe is not learning now Tavshin Yud, we're learning now Tavshin Chav Gimel. It's Anaya Maimer. We're using within the framework of Tavshin Yud, but mezok ta'anaya vot, that there's Aveda Neshamas Yisrael, and their Aveda is to bring in Ein Sof Lamata Adin Tachlis. And that's why we stopped discussing Parch Neshmas and Menosh. It's not noch a shtickle. Chad Bedar. Yeah, that's the next piece over here. So but pastors, we said it's only a bavaronish. Sagt the Rebbe, no. Nicht stam, it's not a bavaronish, it's necessary to understand for the Aveda of Neshamas Yisrael. Because Bichlal, in the Maimel, look at the Tere Yenossi, over there we bring the chiluk zwischen Neshamas Datzilis and Neshamas Debiyah, without getting into all the complexities. But there's in Neshamas Datzilis different kinds. And we're talking over here about the unique kind of Neshamas Datzilis, which is Meishe. Only yet the date is thus, Pashtus the Meishe, Shape Kamer, as the Gemara says, so we call somebody Meishe, even though he was living the day on Miroim. Zetman says, no, I'm Musik from Meishe every day, and that's the Chad Bedor. Zog the Rebbe, and even in our day, the Friedrich Rebbe didn't say that, the Rebbe adds, Befrat b'der Yisenu Eile is doch sicher as Why Befrat is sicher? That needs clarification. And over here, Zog the Rebbe the bomb. A totally new taich in the word Chad Bedor. The Pashta taich Chad Bedor is he's one in a generation. Tahainu, he's unique. As a tzaddik, he's not a regular person. The Rebbe taich is not one in a generation, he's one of the generation. Or I don't know how to say it. In the generation. Tahainu as the Chad from der day. He's not separate from the day, Adarab. He's the Chad Bedor. Dahainu, as what's the union of this Neshama Datzilis, he is the life force of the day. Mela alle Neshamas Yisrael sind Klulim in em, and the Shesh Meser Frag Le'am, the Etashan has Klolus Yisrael, and that's this Pastus the ratio B'chol Daravada. So, derweil we've seen the Rebbe set up two strong Yesayas. One is, Mereta da Aveda only Neshamas Yisrael could do this union of Mamshech Zayin Ein Sof Lamata Din Tachlis. Number two, it's necessary the union of Chad Bedara. It's not Bavaranish. This is the Nakuda. The Taj Chad Bedara is as on a Rebbe is the Rebbe Nishayach. And it's Negeya to understand for this union. That is the Neshama Datzilis. This is the Rebbe brings from the Maimon Yenos. Agav, Mamish, Agav. The Rebbe says that the fruit the Rebbe brings in the Maimon Yenos. Yeah, because there's a Marmokim in Tovshin Yud. So, just we know who wrote those Marmokims, yeah? The Rebbe is not quoting the Frierdiker Rebbe. He's explaining now why, it basically being mefaneach, the ha'ara of Tovshin Yud, so you should understand what now in Tovshin Chav Gimel, the Zelter, that's what he meant over there. Yeah? The Rebbe said once, Tovshin Yud Aleph, that the reason why was Matzu gelegt im Arme Kims ist, als man gesehen, dass da Indien was nicht verstandig, was felt Biur, so there's the Arme Kims over there in order to be Mashlim Biur. So this is a dogma for that, was natürlich Jan aufgeht. Good. One more nekuda, the Maggid. As Shir HaShir. Der Yid singen mit allem Malachim. Und alle Nivro. So that's there's the Shir, but through him becomes Shirim Harb. That's the word of the Maggid. Because why? Because the Yid is Pnimi Yisrael. That is introducing a new Yisrael. Not that the Yid is special, the way sometimes we describe Neshamas Yisrael. The Yid is the Pnimis of the world. And because he's the Pnimis of the world, so when he says something, the whole world comes with him. Yeah, al derech, sagt der Rebbe, machshava dibur u'maisa. So, in order to have, in the dibur, there should be chachma v'seichel, you need to have, nicht stam dibur, there has to be machshava, because the machshava is the pnimis of the dibur. Now, when the Rebbe said the Maimer, the Rebbe also changed the Lashon, yeah? The Rebbe didn't say only Chachma v'Seichel, like the Maggid says. The Rebbe added the word time, which is a fundamental thing. So it's a shot that it's not in this Hanochah, because it's not, I mean, I'm always though, like Dak is the Kikelukim. Because the Yesod though, which is going to be very negay for the Hemshech and Yom. As what the Rebbe is saying is, as when I eat, Zok Shira, so the Malachim Zok Nechet Shira. And the world comes with it. Al derech, that machshava is the pnimis of dibur, because the machshava is a keli for chachma v'seichel, and the Rebbe added time. So was tut? So let's come back to our nekuda over here of being mamshech ein sof lamata din tachlis, and let's just summarize to make sure we're still on the same page. But angeheben, mamshech sein ein sof lamata din tachlis means that there's going to be an expression of bligvul of the Eibishter in every place in the world. That's the nekuda of ein sof lamata din tachlis. The Hainu, like this mashal that your father tells his son, there's no place where you are and no inyan in you where I, the very I, is nishvar. So the Rebbe explained, that's the nish stamazeh, says, do his pashtus and stagil, and both of them are true. Both of them are naked. What's a taj gili? As this Ein Sof is not just going to come and penetrate the Nivra, he's going to permeate the Nivra. He's going to become the very Metzias of the Nivra. That's a Taj Gili. So we saw the way in Atzilus is Eini Pella, when in Biyah is a Pella. What's the dogma for it? Chayes. The pastures. That's what I'm saying in touching you. That's the Atom Chayes Kulam. That's how the Hemshech Yonim goes. So the way we finished off before is that when the Friedrich Rebbe says Atom Chayes Kulam, if we learn that the Hispashtus Vegila is Pshat in touching you, so the Hemshech Yonim, so the Chayes is the expression of Gila. And that, generally speaking, works. I mean, Biyachas to other things for sure, Chayes is more Pnimi, und es hat in sich einen vernetzen. But clearly over here, the Rebbe is saying much more than that. And we're disregarding Chayes. Because Kanal, we're learning Perikut Gimel, it's a besondere Sache. We're befehlish not going to Perikut Dalet. So it's da Inyan von Eren Sof Lamata Adin Tachlis, his pashtus, Vigili, and Chayes is not good enough. Why is Chayes not good enough? L'chura. Because Sof, what did we do in Chayes? We found how Mitzad Echad is the Pnimis of the Dover, or Le'idoch it's an Inyan Atzmi. But Bedakus, let's dissect. Let's take apart what's happening in Chayes. There's a part of him which is Pnim. In other words, the hand is now alive and fresh because the Chayes hat im ganzen durchgenommen. Could I say the hand has Bligvul? No. Atzmi is dov. The Chayes has to be dovk. It's a tnu of Bligvul. Oh, but he does. There's no Bligvul right here in my hand. If not the hand with plots, the hand's not clear for Bligvul. How could I have as the Tachten hotten sich in Sof? Yeah, in Belosh and Achsidis, when we say Einim is Aravi Moim, that's only Benegei Eir, not Benegei Chayes. We make that distinction clear. So Sof is Chayes. We don't want to be mistaken with this. I mean, if there wouldn't have been anything else, I think we would have been happy with it, because it has an inyan of Gil. But Gil name like this. The part of Chayes which comes Pnimi, that's Taki Gili. But the Bligvul Shebei is here Lamarei Sadavar. The Bligvul Shebei is not expressed in this. Al Kaponim, clearly the Rebbe does not want to be Mekabel Chayes. Vos yet, the Aveda von Shamas Yisrael. A Yid brings into the world Ein Sof. Now what we're going to have to do is understand why a Yid is Mitzad Echad, Gili, Pnimi, or Le'idach, it's Ein Sof. So why is a Yid Pnimi? Pashtus. The Yid is, first of all, a part of the breed. Chelek Alika, alles gut und fein, he is the Nivra, he's not bad. If someone would go and bow down to a Yid, it's called Avodah Zarah. He's Nivra, he's not bad. So, we have over here in this world, a piece of this world, which is a different kind of Nivra. Kommt von Machshava, nicht von Dibur. He's a Lekus Shenasa Nivra. Aber ist geblieben Nivra. That's the Uftu of a Neshama. As the Eibush hat reingelegt a Sache in der Welt, which is a Leki, they became the Metzias of the world. Now, it's nicht Stame became the Metzias of the world. The Lashon over here is it became the Pnimis of the world. How did it become the Pnimis? So this is, that doesn't say Taicho is clearly over here, but das ist, I mean, was steht überall? That the Matore Sabri, Melachatchila is B'Shel HaTeru B'Shel Yisrael, and Mamele, he is the Pnimis of the world, the Chayes of the world, and the Kavana of the world. What is the world really is the Yid. So the Taich Neshamas Yisrael is not just, he also exists in the world, he is the Pnimis of the world. And therefore, when a Yid sagt Shira to the Eibishter, singen mit Al Malachim. Everything follows that. Therefore, a Yid can manchach sein in Sofen Welt, and it becomes the Metzias of the world. What's the problem? How is the Tzida in Sof? Maybe he was in Sof, but he was created. Today he's not Ein Sof. He's Neshamas de Biyah. So dem sagt man, se da Neshamas da Atzilus. And Neshamas da Atzilus haben doch all gerät, and this is Lechera, the whole Arichis, as in Atzilus is eine Pelle, Kelem da Atzilus, have Ein Sof. So if there's Neshamas da Atzilus, could carry Ein Sof. And since Neshamas da Atzilus have Ein Sof, we have over here an Inyan of Ein Sof Mamish. Fine. I can answer the question. We have Neshamas de Biyah, which are Gilun, Neshamas da Atzilus, which is Ein Sof, but what's the connection? Sagt man, as the Neshama da Atzilus is the Chad Bedorah. He is the Chayis Pnimi of this Neshama. You're right. Lulei, the Veloshan Atani. So the Rosh Alpha Yisrael is the Neshama ki Neshama. He was a Neshama, now he's Biyah. How does the Neshama de Biyah remain Dovuk, Kemoshul, the Tziperin Sheberegel, connected with the Melech Sheberosh Ha'av, is through the Melech Shebeben. Meaning, the Neshamas da Atzilus are not just a different kind of the Neshama. They're the Neshamas of the Neshamas. So, in ein Wort, the Nekuda over here that we're saying is Azeh. Ein Ein Sof is Meir Lamata Adin Tachlis How? Was is da a Rebbe, who he is Ein Sof, because it's Atzilus. Neshama da Atzilus. And because there are Yidden who are connected to him, he gives them Chayis. So they bring this Ein Sof into the world. Because they are world. They're the Pneumius of world. Let's just clarify. Let's go back to the Magid. So do Machshava, which is the Neshama. It's Neshama de Biyah. Neshama de Biyah trokt in sich Chachma v'Seichel, which is Atzilus, which is Keiches HaNefesh. Und nicht Stam Chachma v'Seichel. That wouldn't help me. We need Ein Sof. Tainuk, which is Ein Sof. Because the Neshamas da Biyah are connected to Neshamas da Atzilus, which is Chachma v'Seichel. Da Hainu was in Zeh liegt Ein Sof, which is Tainuk. See, but I'll see this as yet Atik, Inyan of Tainuk is Inyan of Bligvul. Therefore, they carry a Bligvul in the Welt. Because they're the Pnimis of Welt. Und das ist doch die Nekude von der ganzen Meinung. So, where do we see Ein Sof is Meir Lamata Adin Tachlis? Poshet. So the Neshama da Atzilus, so the Neshama is the Biyah, and the Neshama da Atzilus is the Mamutze between Ein Sof, the Inyan of Ein Sof, of Bligvul, two Neshamas the Biyah, which becomes the Pnimis of Welt. It's the Gilu, it's Welt alle. Now, once you have this Yisod, this runs through the whole mind. The Moshel is the whole Arichis about Klippe, coffee table. Yeah? So what sagt man? Klippe is coffee table. Pare Melech Mitzrayim is coffee table. Why do you want the bench? So what's the part? So first of all, we're talking about Yankiv, the Weiter. So the other Rebbe, who wanted to come and bring a bracha to Pare. Is the Rebbe Meisif two Nekudas? The Mittler Rebbe is Meisif. What was Yankiv giving him? Eden Elin, Tainuk, Ein Sof. Because that's what we have to bavor. And the Tzemach Tzedek is Meisif. How did he want to give it to him? In an Eifen that's going to be the Tevase. That it's going to be in an Eifen as he's going to become Latzeves Leze. The ganze Geder from Mitzrayim geht sein to in Yonam is going to be as the Tevase, the Latzeves Leze, to serve you. So, once I have this Yisod, we want to be Mechaber Inyan from Bligvul into the Welt. Durch der Yankiv is verstandig why it's important to bring in the middle of Rebbe as Einig Elyon, Eden Elyon, and it's important to understand why it becomes the Metzias of the world. The Lashon Latzeves is there was the Rebbe's Yisod. In the Tzemach Tzedek. Now, it's very interesting, it's just to know how Basi Legani's work. Bichlal Basi Legani said, though every year the Rebbe stellt sich on one sif. But always the first sif in the halachas is always a sikkum of everything that happened till now, and the last sif is like a sikkum of the rest of the hemshech. Yeah? Now, obviously, if you're writing a sikkum, we don't have over here 12 prakim. It's taken out selected pieces. Certain pieces come into the sikkum, and every year it's different. Which nukudas of the hemshech are going to come in? So it's clear, it's a leitzach in pashtus, that the nukudas that the Rebbe brought out are the nukudas that are going to be negated to the vort over here for this minor. Now, there's one vort which the Rebbe repeats, sai in the beginning of the minor and sai at the end. This is like obviously very fundamental for what is this minor, what's Tafshin Chav Gimel, how we seeing the whole thing in Tafshin Yud. What's the vort? So there are Eitzera Elyon, and so there are Anshe Chai. But in order for the Eitzera Elyon to come to the Anshe Chai, you need the Pekidei HaChai. The Pekidei HaChai can't do the Arbit. Kol Inyonon is that the Anshe Chai doesn't understand. Le'idach, obviously the Anshe Chai, why didn't the Melech give it to the Anshe Chai? Because the Anshe Chai has to come through Pekidei HaChai. This is Mamish this word. Says Do Ein Sof, the Eitzera Elyon, which is coming through the Pekidei HaChai, the Rebbe. That's the way the Rebbe always types it, generally. Sometimes it was very rare. The Rebbe said that the Melech is the Rebbe, but usually the Melech is the Eibush and the Pekidei HaChai is the Rebbe. And Anshe Chai is Chassidim. And this is the arbit of the Pekidei HaChai, the Neshamas, the Atzilis, to be Mechaber, to be the Chad Bedorah, to connect the Yidden, as in Zezel Leichten Ein Sof. Till now is mamish glatt. Just nice if one word, it's interesting. There are those which want to say now it's the Asach Shraib and Alatun in them that everyone's familiar with the Baal Shem Tov, yeah? That you brought Elims Neshamas and Elikus. In Elims Neshamas and Elikus there were two shittas. There's the Mikdash Melech and the Ramas. Now the Pashtus Hemshech Inyonim Sefalt Neshes to bring the whole pilpul of the Machlekes and what was the Inyan. We brought it for Iwe Garmei Chad, which has nothing to do with that. It's a vort which it says all over. So why did we need this whole pilpul of Elim Shashams and Elikus? So Sedo Azelch was Willem Tainen. I just heard it from the Mendel Cohen in California, but I heard that others are also saying the same thing. I think Gollum also wrote it. That there's the Mikdash Melech and the Ramas. The Pashtan of Gemina will come out, what are Neshamas? Is Neshamas Bria or is Neshamas Atzilus? Yeah? Is Elim Neshamas Alakus Atzilus Bria Yitzira? Is Elim Neshamas Alakus in Sof Atzilus Ambiya? Now Gemina comes out on Neshamas Bria or on Neshamas Atzilus. So in other words, we will learn that the Maimon, and Bichlal learns such a Maimon is all a guessing game, trying to figure out how to put the pieces together. But it's very possible that what's happening over here is that the Rebbe is like setting the stage, that there are two kinds of neshamas. And they are both true, they are both valid, in Shnei and Emes. Es ist richtig zu sagen, als was ist eine Neshama ist Bia, ist Bria. Und es ist richtig and it's important to understand that Neshama is Atzilus. And once I understand that these two things exist, then I can understand what's the plan. This is how Ein Sof comes Lamata. Okay, I can't work, I need the Anshech, I need the Pekidei HaChai. I need both of them. Now, for us as Shape Yesir, the word of it is obviously the Neshamas Atzilus. As the Neshamas and Atzilus to Gezach. That's we want to get to the Chad Vedar. He's the one, that's where the Ein Sof is. But we're not being shayl the other word. We're saying, Sedot zwei sorten Neshamas, and a Yid, through its Aveda in this world, he changes the world. Now, two more nukudas. Bichlal, in the Maimer, the Rebbe doesn't tie choice how the Yid brings down himself into the world. Shir Hashirim. Zeh nicht choice getouched. In the first Sikha of the Fabrengen, Toshach of Gimel, there's three Sikhas before the Maimer, and in many ways, we could look at it as Akdam for the Maimer. The Rebbe starts off the Fabrengen with a Yid brengt arop bligvul a inyan von Ein Sof in the Welt. That's the Aveda of a Yid. He lives in Zman, which is Gvul, and he could bring, the Lashon of the Rebbe is Nitzchias. Bring an inyan from Nitzchias into Zman. And that's what happens with Torah mitzvahs. Pastors, everyone goes through an Avedige Sprach, every person could feel the Chalal, that the world is Arai, and it's Zmani. And when a Tuta Mitzvah brings da rein in von Nitzchias, because now this thing that he does, this is going out of Nitzchias. So it's not just the way it's in the mind, as a Yid, by being in this world. He's connected with Ein Sof. The way we would touch it is, as a Rebbe, bringt da rein Ein Sof, bringt da rein Mesiras Nefesh, bringt da rein Gilui from Pnimis HaTorah, whatever it is, which is the Eitzar HaElyon, which is delivering to Anshe Chai, was tragen Ein Sof. Yeah? Nor the Yid tut Ein Sof in Welt. This is the Taka Ein Sof Lamata Mata Adin Tachlis. We're bringing Ein Sof into the world. I don't think it's a Dava Rochik to say that Sicher is Mamish touching up. If this is the word of the Maimer, then it's Pasha saying it's saying that the bottom line, was will man da sagen, is Mamish sein Ein Sof in Welt. Through doing a mitzvah. Das ist gemoven nur durch eine Chance Yisrael. Kanal, but the Atmachai is Kulam, alles good and fine, it's not doing that. We don't have that the world carries Ein Sof. And then, the Rebbe continued, also before the Maimer, but Zare B'chaim. So, Hu B'chaim ve Zare B'chaim. Fragt the Rebbe, Sab Loshen Zare B'chaim, Sab Lido, Bono. So Zare, the Loshen Zera is to plant a seed. How could you tell that the seed is alive? Obviously, if there's growth. And Adam Zereh Kur Echot, not just to get back a core, nor that there should be a lot of problems. So the Rebbe teaches us. A Rebbe plants Chassidim, that there should be a Tefeach HaManos LaTfeach, there should be a Zare v'Zera Zare. And that's the Raya that Hu B'chaim. In what way is he alive? Where do you see his life? If you see as a Nemdur, as he was Zerei Zera. Which, again, the word over here is, as Sedar Rebbe, Zach Sidim, so Kidei Chal Tza'an Shechai, Vu is El Faran, is Faran Badan Shechai. Where do you see that? Ein Sof. Was Ein Pelas is Meir and Kenem Datzis. Where do you see that he's really Ein Sof? The only way to see that he's really Ein Sof is if it comes down in the Shams Debiyah. If they're connected to him. Yamut is a lebedik. For sure, if we're talking the Sprach of Chayis, that's a touch Chayis, that is dog. But even more than that, over here we're talking about coming and changing the world, that's a touch. It's darf sein nicht am Zera, das darf sein a Zera von der Zera. And then you could see, as man hat gebracht Ein Sof in the Gedorim from the Welt, Lamata Adin Tachlis.